Okay, with that, I think we can start turning it over to the candidates, right? Let's just, shall we do alphabetical order? We'll just start from left. We'll start with Izzy, right?
Alright, hi guys. First off, I'd really like to thank the electoral committee for organizing all the koi and the pizza, because that's great.
Yeah,
A round of applause to them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to step a little bit to the left because it's quite right. Is that okay? Alright, well, the first thing I'd like to say is that I think that everybody in our school is of equal credibility, or like, we can all run for this position, you know, and be all part of the state government. Everyone is equally qualified, you know. Everybody is equally passionate about the school. Everybody is equally intelligent, creative. The only difference is that I am here because I just have disproportionately a lot more time, you know. And even though Feroz and Ami say that people, that you guys shouldn't be worried about not having enough time. But the thing is, like, it's a good thing that everyone's passionate about different things, and that requires time. And so I'm just here because I really am passionate about building the community in this specific way, right? And I want to be able to be that voice for you guys, to come and talk to me, because you guys are all equally qualified. Just at lunch, when I had open discussions with people, Swarnima will come up to me and I will put her out as one of those people I think is equally qualified, because, you know, she is, and I'm very close friends with her. And she told me about her experiences with the government. And I think that's exactly what I want to be able to do. I want you guys to be able to talk to me, and I want to be able to connect you to people who can help you if I can't do it, if the government can't do it. But I really do urge all of you to come and be part of this, because this is our school. This school takes time and effort. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm unfortunately not going to fill up my 4 minutes because I'm running for a very specific reason, and it's not going to take me long to tell you what that reason is. Not only am I interested in running for the student council because I want to do everything that the council does, but I'm specifically interested at tech at Yale-NUS College. I'm hopefully going to be a computer science student, and so that facet of the college matters to me. I love this school so much because people are constantly asking us what our opinions are. The director of the ERT, Director Panko, I'm not sure if you guys are acquainted with him, but he's spoken to me and the rest of YNC Hacks about countless problems that we've had, whether it be with card access to the library or whether it be to do with makerspaces. But if I was on a student council, it would just make it a lot easier to get these things done. Myself and a few other people have many ideas for how the student council can more effectively reach out to its students using technology. In fact, Izzy and myself at the start of this year, well, Izzy, myself, and a few other people, at the start of this year, were thinking of making things like a platform where everyone could see different extracurricular organizations, their notices, etc., away from Facebook, because Facebook sucks, you know, for this kind of stuff. It's these sorts of things that I want to hopefully import into the student council. Unlike Izzy, I'm afraid I don't have much time. I'm going to be totally honest about that because I think it's fair. But I have a very specific reason for wanting to do this, and I hope that you guys see the value in something like this, and I hope that eventually, if you do vote me in, that we can see these things, not just the ideas, but actually happen. And Yale-NUS can be one of the most technologically advanced schools in the world, because it should. I mean, we should be able to have that capacity. Thank you all.
Hey guys. So I complain a lot, you know, if I've terrorized you on Facebook. I'm really sorry, but I'm here because if I complain this much, I should probably actually do something about it. And it is a burden. I'm going to be watching a lot less Family Guy from now on, but I have some significant problems with the way student government is right now. I think it's misguided in its scope and function, and I have a problem with it, so I want to change it. I think the student government should not have anything to do with lobbying for changes in the curriculum or other administrative things like that. Invest millions of dollars for professional educators to do that. And I think it's ridiculous that college freshmen should be dictating what college freshmen study in college. That's insane. I think the student government should be a place where people can make their voices heard, so that small groups of, say, 10 people in a club can go and affect change that impacts all of the student body without going through any sort of process. If I get 20 of my friends together in a club and then go up to the dining hall, say, and I say, hey, look, we should really change the food here, and I pester them long enough, because it's a wonderful place where we can organize and affect change, I can do that, and you guys have really no say in the matter. And I kind of have a problem with that. It's really easy to affect change without actually having any accountability. So I think the student government should do less of the administrative work and more of the actually making the community a nice place to live and not letting tiny groups affect change without actually asking anybody. Also, I'm really not as bad as I sound on Facebook. You can vote for me, it's okay.
So, hi, I think I know mostly everybody here. For those of like the 2 or 3 people who I somehow have not run into, my name is Jay. I'm a member of the class of 2018. I'm part of Elm College. Yeah, hi Meredith. Basically, I was one of the initial members of student government last year. And I really like a lot of what the 3 of y'all have come up here and said. And I think that I would like to give them a round of applause for accepting their nomination after the initial deadline. I think that it really shows a great sense of civic duty. It shows a love and respect and care for the school. So I'd love it if you could join me in applauding these guys. That being said, I think that I want to talk a little bit about what Thaddeus said, because I think that student government kind of has a purpose, and that purpose is a little bit conflicted, I think, in its scope and conflicted in its mission. And I think student government's job is to make the community better, but that's not mutually exclusive with doing the admin work. We can't just make this community better by going and running to the sky and saying, please shower upon us money and like skinless chicken breast or whatever, and suddenly expect our college to be the best college in the world. Yale-NUS, making change like any institution requires work, it requires dedication, it requires careful planning. And that's not mutually exclusive with making our community better. In fact, that's how we make our community better. So when we're talking about lobbying the curriculum, I have great respect for the multi-million-dollar educated professionals who put together the common curriculum. But I don't have as much respect when they don't even take the time to think, what does the curriculum look like for the consumer, the student experiencing it? I'm not saying we should go and redefine the entire curriculum. And in fact, on my time on the academics committee, that's not what we did. What we did is we tried to communicate the student experience to the administration. We tried to show them what it's like to be a student. And that helps them, and it helps us. That's what student government is designed to do. Student government is not a magic rainbow highway to happiness. It's a bridge between the administration and the students. And it's the path that makes our institution better on a community level and on a professional level. So a lot of you have asked me, Jay, why are you running again? Because Jesus, like you almost died last semester, and that is true. I think that student government, to me, is the most meaningful activity that I have participated in my entire life. I think that Yale-NUS is one of the most amazing institutions in the world. I think that we have brought together a group of people and from different backgrounds, from different interests, and put them together into a community where we learn from each other. But we need a conduit to take the amazing talent and power that our institution has and make our institution a better place. We need people to go and talk to President Lewis, to go and talk to the Dean of Faculty, Dean Baylor, or whoever the new dean will be next year. We need people to go and communicate what we as students believe to the administration. And we need those students to be dedicated and to have a plan. That's why I'm running again. In this one semester term, I want to set up the foundations of the new government. I want to bring the ideas that all of you have told me, both in my previous term and just in the past couple weeks, and make sure that Yale-NUS is not the best institution in the world just now, but that it is the best institution in the world forever. Thank you.
Great, yeah, continue another round of applause.
So in addition to the 4 candidates we have here, I have some statements that have been sent to me by the candidates that couldn't make it. These are Adam Tonks, Julianne Thomson,
Talking you guys.
and I believe Scott sent me something. Yes, and Scott Currie. Okay, so I'm going to start with Scott Currie. I'm not going to try and do an impression. He says, "Thanks everyone for coming down. Unfortunately, I can't be here to field questions as I'm hosting an alumni event for my secondary school, which was arranged many moons ago. I am sure there are questions as to what exactly my platform is. Patience. My campaign season is not yet over, and to complete the ritual of my campaign, there is another video I need to edit which delineates the Muse plan, which should answer most of your questions. On a related note, ICG start this weekend, so as well as continuing to support the political scene, come down and support Yale-NUS athletes. Thank you for all." I also have a statement from Adam Tonks of Elm College. It is entitled "Tonks Goals for Student Government." "If I am elected into student government, I would ensure that it plays an efficient administrative role. In my view, it should serve as a truthful and authoritative representation of the student body's opinions. The personal views of student government members should not affect the government's activities, so as to uphold its status as an independent liaison between students and other members of the Yale-NUS community. My priority would be to effect concrete action that is reasonable to the majority of students in a timely and efficient manner. This would be done using reliable information distilled from a regular data collection process of student opinions. I believe that partisan politics within the student government can be detrimental to such a process. Hence, I would encourage that students reach consensus quickly on key issues. This is still possible with just 500 students, and something we must capitalize on. I cannot guarantee that each action taken by the student government will satisfy every student, but I can promise that fair and reasonable compromises will sustain our school's forward momentum. If anybody has questions in regard to my goals and aspirations for student government, I welcome them to address them to me in person or through Facebook." That's Adam Tonks. The last one is from Julianne Thomson. "I only have a strong opinion about one thing: smoking cigarettes. Smoking cigarettes is perhaps the most absurdly stupid concept I have ever encountered in my life. If elected, I look forward to facilitating productive dialogue, weighing pros, cons, and everything in between, regarding any controversial issue that pops up, besides smoking cigarettes. If I were to say I felt strongly about anything else, it would be our school's reliance on Facebook as a platform for communication. If elected, I will make it a very high priority to move this school's default method of communication to something that engages people on a still efficient, but more respectful and personal level." That's all for Julianne. The final statement is from Keith Yaow. He is absent with apologies. Alright, that's it.
Alright, we are now going to start our debate, which, have no fear, will be fairly chill. Okay. So we'd like to open the question, which is, we'll go down the line, starting with Jay, because we started with Izzy last time. What to you is the biggest issue that Yale-NUS faces? And so, what is the biggest issue? How should we fix it? And is anyone to blame for this issue? All right, Jay, take it away.
Do I sit here or am I supposed to stand?
Stand.
Okay. Can you see me far?
No, I will
Okay.
tighten cam. Okay.
Yeah, hi friends abroad. I miss you. Anyway. Okay, so what is the biggest issue at Yale-NUS? That's a bit of a tough question, and after thinking about it some more afterwards, I may change my mind, and if so, you'll see it on Facebook. But to me, I think the biggest issue right now is how do we move our college from the tiny institution of last year, less than 300, to this year, 500, to an institution that will someday be more than 1,000 students, and if residential college 4 is added, substantially more than 1,000 students. It's transitioning Yale-NUS from the community where every single student knows every single student and every administrator knows every student to a community that unfortunately will be a lot more like a normal college. So I think trying to transition Yale-NUS into that institution that it is destined to become means that we need to hold on to the things that we do well. An informed community, a community that cares about each other, a vibrant and energetic community that believes in the mission that we as a college have. How do we fix this? Problem? It's a difficult way to contextualize that as a problem. But I think one of the ways that we begin by approaching this is by having a frank discussion from the students to the student government about what can we preserve and what do we need to get rid of. Trying to figure out if our space management policies, if our dining hall policies, if our academic policies, our student org finance policies, are policies that will work when we are almost double the size. A lot of those policies, I think, will stop working as early as next year. Student government's job is to anticipate those problems, not react to them. Is anybody to blame for this? No. It's a natural cause of our college growing bigger, and it's a fundamental problem, and in some ways a fundamental opportunity of the experience that we have here at Yale-NUS. It's our mission as students, and it's my mission, if you elect me to student government, to try and make sure that we can transition our institution into the kind of institution we want it to be, and hold on to that core sense of identity that we all value so much in this place that we call home.
Thank you. All right, Tad, same question. How do you fix it? Who's to blame?
Well, y'all are pretty weird, and you guys say some weird things, and there's some weird problems that we have. But, I mean, if you think about the issues that we have day to day, like we were complaining about skinless chicken and, you know, the wrong music in the gym, it is not to say there are no problems. There are some hurt feelings all the time, you know, kind of my specialty. And there's always something to address, right? We have plenty of things to work on. But it's pretty great here, and if I really think about problems every day, there's no looming, overarching thing that's just, you know, oppressing the school. I think we have a good system, and I think, like Jay said, that there will be more problems that we're going to have to anticipate in the future. But I don't think the issue is looking for one big problem that we need to fix and finding somebody to blame for it. It's just to not slack off and keep working on all the little problems that we do have a system to solve, and that we do work out after a little bit of heckling on Facebook and in this kind of forum. So I'm going to say, as kind of pandering as it is, there's not one big problem, and there's not really anyone to blame. There's just the necessity that we keep working to solve our bizarre little problems that seem to constantly surface in this wonderful community.
Thanks, Tad. In fact, I'm just going to build on what Tad said, because I entirely agree with him. I said that I think Yale-NUS is a fantastically responsive place administratively. If we have a problem, it gets solved, usually. And I don't think that there's anything really serious that needs to be done. Apart from one thing, which is that we're a school that's 3 years old. So, in my opinion, what matters most to us should be who comes after us. For now, the system that we have is we admit students and they come to Yale-NUS for EYW and they make their decisions to come here or not come here based on that. Personally, I scoured the internet for every morsel of information on NUS. I read every single Yale-NUS student publication. I watched the admissions website and homepage like a hawk, because I didn't know anything about the school. The school, didn't really exist yet. There was no graduating class. And I think we can do better. I think these things are not hard to do. Things like improving the way our school newspaper's website looks. Yes, you may argue this is possibly not a thing that's in the realm of the student council, and I would agree. In fact, I'm on the committee of people who are trying to change that already. But what about changing the admissions website? I really don't think that a simple WordPress blog can compete with MIT admissions. And I'm not saying that we should try to compete with MIT admissions, but let's say there's one person who's deciding between those two schools, goes to the Yale-NUS admissions page and thinks, why would I want to study computer science at a school that can't even make admissions, WordPress page function? We've lost an incredibly valuable member because our school is so small. And that's kind of what I want to be focused on. Do I think there's anyone to blame? No, of course not. I think we're a really small school, and I think that everyone is ridiculously busy here. You know, we can't, just by virtue of the fact that there's only 4 of us up here, right? And people are too busy to do important things. And so I feel that we should get this done now. Like we should just get it done so that next year people will come look at our school online and think this is a freaking amazing school. I'm going to go there instead. They've got everything sorted. They're just better than MIT. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to start backwards. What is the problem? Where's the problem coming from? I mean, and I think a lot of the problems that we do have come from the fact that we are a new college and we're still starting up. And that's not to blame for anybody. It's just the nature of things. Like my comrades or other people were saying, right? So, okay. I think one thing I'm very passionate about, and I think that we have to be working towards, is an idea of sustainability. And that's basically a synthesis of everything that you guys have been saying. We just need to be working towards being more sustainable. What does that mean? Concrete example of being the fact that everyone's very busy all the time. We need to be working towards looking for the future, right? And looking for a growth, sustainable growth in our student orgs that we all have, right? Because what does happen after us?
All right, next question, starting with Aadit. You've addressed this a little bit already, but name one specific policy or project that you would start working on as soon as you got jobs were you to be elected.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. It's not what you're thinking. Something that I've been talking about because of the upcoming sort of internship admission cycle, this sort of stuff, is SIPE and our relationship with SIPE. Now, personally, a massive, massive part of why I came to Yale-NUS was SIPE. I mean, it's theoretically, and in fact, actually, it is utterly fantastic. What other institution in the world do you go to where there are so many, I mean, like, this place is dripping with SIPE opportunities. I was talking to Jules, sorry, to Anne-Sophie about this. She's the exchange student from Utrecht. And she just mentioned, you guys, it's kind of ridiculous how unfair it is that you guys have so much. But it's because of that it pains me a little bit to say that I don't think SIPE is really as much a part of Yale-NUS College as I think it should be. I think that the people that work at SIPE, and what got me thinking about this was when I recently went to the French consulate to apply for a visa for a lab I was doing. One of the very, very amazing members of SIPE came to help me do that. And I remember him saying, oh, is this Chinana? Is this where you live? Right? And in my head I was thinking, how is it that we can have, I mean, it's no fault of his. I'm not trying to say that it's his, but it's kind of strange that we have people that are so involved in our school that don't know where Chandana College is, right? A friend of mine was telling me that he was applying for a language program, and he was told to apply for this program without knowing what classes would be available at this particular program he was applying for, because the people who run SIPE may or may not really be in sync with the Yale-NUS student experience. So think about things like this, right? So that would possibly be the first thing that I look into, just talking to the dean of SIPE, or to figure out how to incorporate that very important part of our college and take it out of that sort of corporate sphere that it may exist in and bring it into the world that, yes, Francesca, that we exist in, which is that of the student.
Tad's a question?
Alright, so my two big things are preventing any more meddling with the curriculum, but that's not an immediate thing. What I would start on immediately is this problem where we have a student government that is supposed to represent the student body, which sometimes has trouble even getting a quorum for its votes. And then we also have a ton of small clubs that are also able to lobby for change without representing the student body. So I'm just going to use this one because it's the most recent example. If you want to change the food at the dining hall, that's fine. If the student body wants to do that, then they have every right to ask for the food to be changed. If IDECO wants to do that. That's slightly more problematic. So my sort of priority, I guess, would be to stop this system where all of the heads of, the library, the dining hall, the, whatever, infra, the gym, I would try to have them communicate with the student government only, instead of being engaged in many different dialogues which are disjointed and don't reflect the desires of the student body. So basically, try to get the campus to only talk to the student government, which is the only organization which appropriately reflects the student body.
Jay.
Okay, so I definitely think what Aadit said, absolutely, especially for the pioneer batch who's trying to find jobs, they really need jobs. I'm not sure, speaking to our friends abroad, y'all need jobs, and SIPE needs to help you guys get jobs and make sure that our degree is something that helps students get jobs and internships and opportunities, not one that inhibits it. But since Aadit kind of covered that one, I'll say another one, which is really less of a this is such a huge deal, and more of a something we can do really easily that makes a big impact. And I want to ask the audience, what is a huge event that is happening 1 year from now in May at this college? Graduation, yes. So right now, graduation is something that the administration has been thinking about, actively considering who's going to speak at graduation, how's it going to work. But student government has had relatively minimal impact on that, and the students have had relatively minimal impact on graduation. And so I think that that's a great example of where student government can be that bridge between students and the administration. Say, what do we want our graduation ceremony to look like? How can that symbolize what Yale-NUS means to us? And from my perspective, I think that while it may not be as big of a deal as a lot of the things, it's a great example of how student government can very easily, quickly, and efficiently take a problem, find a solution, and work with the administration to implement that solution in a way that is beneficial to every student at Yale-NUS for now, and to create a tradition that is sustainable and dependable in the future. Thanks.
Y'all have figured out very quickly that I care about two things primarily, which is community building and sustainability. Ever since I came to this school, that's something that has been a priority. Aadit kind of alluded to the project that we had at the beginning of the year, which was knowledge share, because I thought there was a lot of disparity between the different common curriculum courses, which is not to say we want to change the common curriculum. We just want to provide a platform that highlights and, brings out the best of the common curriculum, because it's going to have different professors who are experts in different things. But that kind of, I don't know what happened to that. So what I've been doing lately is trying to be involved in, focusing on the sustainability of our community, because y'all are doing so many great things. I'm just trying to find a way to make it all centralized. So I've been on the athletics committee trying to create a rule book, a handbook that will be passed on for years to come, using Yale and NUS as examples, for example. So what I would be doing is something that I've already been starting doing. If you see my posts on Facebook, is for student organizations. I think we have a lot of great student organizations because we just have a lot of great people. And I would like to be able to provide a platform where all of you can share your difficulties, learn from each other, and then speak directly to those who can make a change. So next Wednesday, this is shameless advertising by the way, next Wednesday all the heads of student organizations in Mexico hopefully will come to a informal tea that I'm holding, where people from DOS, rectors, faculty will be there to listen to all your problems, and you guys can also talk about your problems together. By doing so, I hope that it will be able to provide a platform for you guys to just talk about this and solve it together, because as I said on my Facebook post, we don't have to be doing this on our own, and we are one school, and we're quite similar despite how all different we are. I think this is a project that I want to be doing, but I want to be doing it with you, and it's kind of reflective of how I want all my other projects to be like.
All right, thank you. So next we're going to move into more individualized questions. Candidates will have a minute to respond. We'll be keeping track. So first we're going to start with Jay. Jay, our question for you is, describe what our relationship with the greater NUS, what it should be like, how we should interact with them. This could include sporting events or broader. So if you were elected to council, how would you interact with NUS, and should that be a change from how we're doing it now?
Great,
Jay, I'll knock on 1 minute.
Okay, so 1 minute's not a lot to talk about such a huge issue, so I'm going to outline my very broad themes about this. I think that Yale-NUS at once needs to maintain a relationship with NUS that is close enough so that we can take advantage of the opportunities they offer as one of the greatest universities in the world. And the resources they have in research, in education, in sporting facilities, in instruction, in ability to work with peers who are really, truly wonderful is something we need to preserve. At the same time, Yale-NUS needs to be a distinct entity from NUS in the sense that we are not simply the same as NUS and simply a smaller subset that sort of mostly does the same thing but different. Yale-NUS needs to have its own institutional identity that is strong, independent, and that reflects what our student body wants. But at the same time, we can't afford to alienate our friends and people helping us over at NUS.
Okay, next, Tad. What is your opinion on Facebook as a medium for public discourse? And should there be another platform? Is the current system adequate?
You can't blame Facebook for people being emotional and weird and not communicating well. It's not Facebook's fault, guys. If there's a problem with communication, I mean, we got lots of ways to communicate. If you want to reach someone, there's plenty of ways to do it outside of Facebook. If you want to make a public announcement and people react badly to it, it's not because you're on Facebook. If we have another way to communicate, fine, you can have another platform, but I really don't think it's going to make a huge difference. The issue here is not the little blue boxes. That's it.
All right, thank you. All right, Izzy, you are on the sub-RCAC, correct? All right. So, in your opinion, how should student government interact with RCACs, and what are the proper rules of student government versus the RCACs?
Okay, first off, I want to say it's not RCACs versus student government. It shouldn't be some kind of competition, and I'm going to be nitpicky about that word because it implies some kind of contention which really shouldn't exist. So I guess that kind of answers the question. I am on the summer RCAC, and just recently we were deciding to rewrite the structure of it, and I'm part of writing that pseudo-constitution, which is, oh my god, I don't know how you guys did it. I hate it. It's only 2 pages, I hate it already. So in terms of the relationship between RCACs and governments, I think that the RCACs first should have relationships between each other, because it's kind of a big thing if the 3 biggest colleges or the 3 only colleges that we have on campus aren't talking to each other and are organizing different things and are trying to build a community in a different way. In terms of the government, I think that the government should just be trying to help that, facilitate that, and not step in because the RCACs are perfectly capable as well.
Thank you, Izzy. Okay, for audit. All right, looking back on the library situation, what would you have done differently, if anything? Essentially, how would you have dealt with that situation then? Is it better now? And what will you do about it in the future?
No, I can get by the gills of laughter that it was not managed particularly well. I don't think that the situation should have come to that, because to be totally honest, I am in entire agreement with everything that Jay said. I have a lot of respect for NUS, and I think we should be proud of the fact that we are a neighbor of NUS. But the fact is that we are just so much smaller than them that we cannot afford to set precedents that are unsustainable, right? I think the initial precedent that our library is part of the NUS system, and so NUS students can come and use all the seating space, was simply unsustainable. How is it better now, and how would I have done it? How would I have handled it differently? I think I should have gone to speak to Ken Pankow at the ERT first. Do I think it's better now? Yes, I do think it's better.
We'd like to have the next 5 minutes open up to you guys. If you have questions for any of these candidates, just raise your hand, call on you. Aaron, speak loudly.
Izzy, I have one question. You said the 3 RCACs aren't communicating right now, right? But did you not realize for Halloween all 3 RCACs collaborated together under a single model, under Subash?
Can you say the question and get into the mic for the broad students?
So Aaron's question was, Izzy said that the 3 RCACs aren't working together, but is she aware that for Halloween, all 3 work together under Subash's leadership?
And that's right. And I think it was unfair for me to say that they're not talking at all. But I didn't say at all. I did imply that, but there was difficulties at the Halloween. There was difficulties because we didn't know who was doing what. There was a lot of confusion, especially on Saga's side. Maybe I'm only speaking on behalf of Saga, but that's 1/3 of the college. Let's talk about, for example, at the beginning of the year, we had 2 barbecues. We have 3 residential colleges. Janata didn't know we don't know what happened. Saga had one, but then Elm also had one, and so Janata went over to Elm, and so it ended up being Janata, Elm, and then Saga, which is indicative of a kind of miscommunications. Most importantly, Halloween is one time of the year. The whole entire year consists of how many other events, how many cookies and milk, cake and mugs, dance-offs, right? I think we can do so much more, and there's a lot we can learn because we also have different demographics in each RCAC. I know I'm going a bit long, but let's talk about like Janata RCAC. We have maybe more juniors there, heard of, right? We just recently brought on 2 juniors for Saga RCAC. Most of us are freshmen. We might be the biggest RCAC, but we also are the youngest. So there's a lot we can learn from each other, and I think that can be said for the whole school.
All right, any other questions? Meredith?
Do I need to come down to the mic?
Sure, come on down.
Alright,
Can you come over here?
all right. So the candidate list as it currently stands is rather feeble. Some accepted their candidacy right away, but others had to be kind of scrounged up. In considering my own nomination and in speaking with others, a common fear amongst the student body was time commitment and burnout. And to me, this is indicative of a larger mentality within the community, one that I don't think anyone has addressed thus far, which is student wellness. And so I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on the current state of student wellness, and how do you think the student government should, if at all, be addressing it?
Is that for all the candidates?
Yes.
All right, starting with Jay and go down.
Okay, I'll be quick. So I think that Meredith raises a really, really important point, and I can't cover all of it. So I'm just going to bullet point some things. First, we need to have a greater respect by the administration for mental health as well as physical health. We need the administration to work with students to make sure that taking a leave of absence is not an academic death sentence, but instead is a way of supporting students who need support in their life because something else is going wrong. We also, as something that student government, it's in the handover notes that will be given to the new student government from the old student government from community living, is just looking at the workload at Yale-NUS in general. It's kind of a bit strange when our students go abroad to top institutions in the world and say, wow, at MIT or Harvard, life was really easy. It was so chill. I came back to Yale-NUS and suddenly I had no more free time. Now, maybe that's a good thing, but we also need to look at what point is the workload, academic and extracurricular, becoming a detriment to the spirit of our community rather than something that helps our community. And so I think trying to have student government facilitate that conversation within the student body and between the student body and the administration is important to make sure that the kind of development our college has is sustainable.
All right, I'm going to disagree with that one a little bit, because that sounds like meddling with the curriculum again. And the answer to reducing, or to improving student wellness is not to make classes easier. We have lots of freedom to, sort of take a class load that doesn't put too much pressure on. And actually, I'm really impressed by the wellness services at this college. I don't think most colleges have the support structure that we do. The issue is that there's not enough, as with most problems here, is in the communication. If there's a problem with wellness. I'm hesitant to blame the existing wellness services. I would say the problem is that not enough people know about them, not enough people know how to access them. There aren't enough events to sort of, introduce them to the student body. So if we're going to try to get people to utilize those more, then we need to host more of those events like we had at the beginning of this year, and keep that going throughout the year to encourage people to actually make use of the services we have, instead of changing the workload or changing the support structure that exists, because I really do think that it's very strong. It's just underutilized.
I would just like to agree with what Tad said and simultaneously agree with other things that Jay has said. I think that the system that we have at our school, not the system rather, the services that we have at our school are very strong. But after the beginning of the year, I think they kind of faded from memory. The only part that in fact, sadly, the only other time that the Wellness Center really surfaced in my inbox was when somebody was telling me that they were upset because there were people who were not supposed to be at Yale-NUS using the Wellness Center, right? And that's not the way it should be. We should be thinking about the Wellness Center because all of us should be using the Wellness Center, whether we are more or less healthy or whether we really need to. Other than that, I think it is a side effect of being highly capable, hardworking, super successful students that people at Yale-NUS work hard and work a lot. Why is it that we work more than students at MIT? Because MIT students don't have to read Pere Goriot, right? It's just kind of what happens when you come to Yale-NUS. And the key is being able to manage the intense stress of getting essentially 2 college degrees and extracurricular life with your own health. And again, this should be a conversation between wellness and the individual student.
So, yes, I agree with all of that. I want to emphasize Pat's point that we do have the structure for it. We have the facilities for all of this. So I don't know whether it's because of the startup mentality that we all have, thinking that we have this not a burden, but it is kind of this pressure that we need to build the school because it all lies on our shoulders basically. On the first year assembly we have 0% hiring, right? None of our graduates are employed because we have none. So that's a lot of pressure that we have. I'm going to talk about something about Wellness Center, but just a little bit different. I think when it comes to those with actual medically diagnosed problems, if you have ADHD, if you have clinical depression, and I actually know of some students in our school, namely Roshan, and I can't remember right now, but I know Roshan's working on this, and that's a problem I think we should focus on. How the administration works with supporting those kind of students with these problems. Who's protecting a student if they have ADHD in the class? Who's protecting the rights of the student if the professor wants to verbally or emotionally abuse them? That kind of structure is not in place, and that's something that we should be working on.
Thank you. We'll take one more question. Oh, wow, okay. I saw sort of a last time, so why don't you just say it from there.
So I actually had 2 questions, but I'm just going to ask the one. I wanted to ask about, a couple of you mentioned working with the existing organizations that are already there. Izzy brought up the RCACs, and Aadit and Jay brought up SITE. The thing is, the SITE SAC already exists, and regarding the common curriculum and other curriculum-related things, there is actually a Dean of Faculty Advisory Group. The thing is, there are a lot of specialist organizations for all of this already, and I will admit that I have my doubts about what the student government can or should do. With regard to that, I want to ask all of you, what do you think the student government can do with these organizations who are already working on these things, and how, how, or if there would be a redundancy?
Okay, so sort of this question was, given that there are already groups that interact with the SITE, there's a SITE stack, there's a specialized group already working with Dean of Faculty, how does student government fit in with that, and is it redundant for student government also to be engaging SITE or Dean of Faculty? Yes, Izzy, I've been putting you last for too long. Yes.
Yeah, I'd rather go first because I have the answer in my head and I forget it over time. Yeah, that's a problem. Okay, so going back to what I was saying at the beginning of why I'm here, and I think that the student government is in a good position to connect all these student organizations together and be that facilitator of communication between administration and the students. In terms of redundancy, I can see what you're talking about there because the biggest scarcity besides time for all of us in the school is human resources. We just don't have enough people to fill up the number of student organizations, the number of things that need to be fixed in our school. I think that the student government is not redundant in that we need to be facilitating communication. Doesn't mean that we have to enforce and add new things and add new workload for us, but we do need to be there.
Thank you.
This is actually a very good question, but I feel the answer should be that the student council is this sort of large, it's sort of like the Supreme Court, right? That's the way I'm going to phrase it. The SAC and these other committees are civic or provincial or municipal courts. They deal with the day-to-day issues of communication and minor tweaks. I feel our job as the student council is to canvass public opinion at large, and if there are big issues that we feel require large-scale change, it should be us as the student council, which directly represents the entire student body, to get involved. How do we get involved? I have no answer to that because I feel that it's very case-specific. And that we will discuss when we come to cross that bridge. But I do feel that there is a role that we have to play. It's part of what makes a student council important in a school.
All right, this is a fantastic question. And guys, I'm American. I know what it's like to be angry and uninformed. This is exactly what I have a problem with. I know what the student government is, and I know how to vote for the people on the student government, yeah, obviously. I have no idea how I'm represented on the SAC or the dining committee or whatever is affecting my life, these specialized committees. I don't know how to vote for the people on there. I don't even know I can. And I don't know what they do or when they do it, because I can't keep track of 90,000 specialized committees that are making really significant decisions about psych and, the common curriculum and the dining hall. Those affect our lives immediately, really directly. And there's no way for all of us to keep track of all those small committees, which means they don't represent the student body, which means what they're doing isn't working. And what we need to do is take these specialized committees that have people who are really interested in them and bring them under the student government so that they actually represent the student body, instead of just being isolated groups of 6 or 7 people who are making really important decisions but have no real contact with the student body at large. So yeah, we get rid of them and just do our authoritarian rule.
Very good.
So to me it's really interesting because everybody else is talking about this as if this is a bridge that we're going to come to, which is not true. We have crossed this bridge already in the last student government. And so I'm going to give you 2 examples of how we dealt with that problem and how we could have better dealt with that problem, and I hope that how this student government will deal with that problem in the future. So I was the student government official liaison to the Dean of Faculty's Student Advisory Group. There's a few SAG members here. Hi there, guys. I'm going to talk about you for a bit. I absolutely agree with what everyone else has said about the importance for these groups to be representative, to be accountable, to be sort of held in some sort of responsibility with what the student government and what the student body is trying to achieve. And so I think the way that we did that in last semester is we had all of these committees, which were already existing. We didn't want to just boot these committed people off of committees that they had worked so hard to work on. So we asked the leaders of the committees, can we have student government official representation on these committees? Can we bring them under the wing of student government while still giving them the autonomy to work on their decisions and make really valuable progress, while at the same time ensuring that they are accountable to the student body? In my opinion, that is a proven approach. It's worked in the past, and I think it will work in the future. What we need to do is not dissolve all of these committees and make it the authoritarian rule of the student government. I think that's a bit short-sighted. I think what we need to do is we need to work with the existing structures that be, have student government serve that voice of accountability, of transparency, and unite the students who are working outside of the realm of student government, bring them under the arms of student government without bringing them under the fist of student government.
All right, thank you. Thank you to all our candidates, and thank you to you for showing up and staying the entire time. Well done. To our students abroad, I hope you found this informative. Don't forget that in addition to this forum, all of our candidates will be campaigning, so you will be able to learn about the other 6 via their media posts, posters, etc. But a special thanks to these 4 who were able to make it. Thank you to the previous or current, still I guess, student government for serving so faithfully and so well for a whole year. They really set the bar high, and I know that this next government will be, aspiring to live up to their standards. So again, thank you for coming, and have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to email them to